I never thought one message could change my entire life. It was a Wednesday evening. The kind of ordinary day where nothing feels extraordinary. I had just gotten home from work, dropped my bag on the couch, and opened my phone to a notification I almost ignored. It was from a private number. No name, no photo. Just a message that said, "You should really know what your boyfriend's been hiding." My heart skipped. For a moment, I thought it was a prank, but then another message came through, a photo. It was Daniel, my boyfriend, smiling, with another woman. They were standing too close, holding hands, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. And right there in that picture, I recognized something familiar. The jacket he wore. It was mine, a birthday gift I gave him just 2 weeks earlier. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, my hands went cold, and every memory of him, every promise, every sweet word, flashed before my eyes like scenes from a cruel movie. I didn't cry. I didn't even move. I just stared at that photo and whispered to myself, this is what he's been hiding." That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake replaying everything. The late nights, the missed calls, the sudden, business trips. I realized how blind love had made me. But beneath the heartbreak, something stronger started to rise. It wasn't rage. It wasn't despair, it was focus. Because, if Daniel thought he could live a double life and get away with it, he was about to learn that I wasn't the type of woman to break quietly. Daniel was the kind of man who could charm anyone. He had that easy smile, the kind that made you believe every word he said. When we met at a friend's birthday dinner, he was confident, funny, and a little mysterious. The kind of guy who always seemed to have a story to tell. He told me I had the kind of smile that could calm chaos. I laughed, thinking it was just a line. But that line turned into late night conversations, weekend getaways, and eventually love. Or at least, I thought it was love. He was attentive, caring, always there when I needed him. He'd send flowers to my office, leave handwritten notes in my bag, whisper promises about a future together. Everyone said we were perfect. And maybe that's why I ignored the small cracks that started to show. He'd cancel plans last minute, saying something urgent came up at work. His phone started buzzing at odd hours, and when I'd ask, he'd smile and say, "It's just clients." I wanted to believe him. Because believing was easier than admitting I might be wrong about the person I loved. But deep down, a quiet part of me was already waking up. The part that noticed how his tone changed when he said, "I love you." The part that caught the hesitation in his eyes when I asked about the future. Still, I stayed. Because love makes you see potential instead of patterns. And I told myself, "He's just stressed. Things will get better." But things didn't get better. They got darker. And that's when the first real crack became impossible to ignore. It started with a forgotten birthday dinner. My best friend, Maya, had planned a small get-together for me. Daniel promised he'd be there. He even picked the restaurant. But when the night came, he never showed. No call, no text, just silence. I tried calling him 10 times, maybe more, until his phone went straight to voicemail. I spent the rest of the night pretending everything was fine, smiling through my disappointment as my friends joked and toasted around me. The next morning, he showed up at my door with coffee and that same disarming smile. "Babe, I'm so sorry. I was at work, it ran late, and my phone died." Classic excuse. And I wanted to believe him. I really did. But then I saw something. A faint lipstick stain on his collar. Not mine. When I pointed it out, he laughed. "It's probably from one of my coworkers." We were hugging goodbye. He said it so casually, as if it meant nothing. But to me, it meant everything. That was the day I decided to stop ignoring my instincts. So, I started watching. Not obsessively, just carefully. I noticed how he guarded his phone like a secret. How he smiled when certain notifications popped up. How his cologne lingered a little too strongly when he came home late. And then one night, while he was in the shower, I picked up his phone. It was locked, of course it was. But when it vibrated, I saw the name. Clara. That was the name of the woman from the photo. And that was the moment everything clicked. He wasn't just lying. He was building a life where I didn't exist. A week later, I decided to find out everything. He said he had to work late again. I smiled and kissed him goodbye like nothing was wrong. Then, I followed him. He drove to a restaurant on the other side of town. And there she was, Clara. The same woman from the photo. Beautiful, confident, laughing with him like they'd been together for years. I sat in my car, hidden behind tinted windows, and watched as he leaned across the table, held her hand, whispered something that made her blush. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just recorded it. Every moment, every word I could capture. When he came home later that night, I was sitting on the couch, calm and collected. He smiled. "Hey babe. Long night." I smiled back. "Yeah, I bet." He went to change, humming to himself, completely unaware that the video I'd taken was already uploading to a private drive. Just in case. That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to his breathing, thinking about all the nights I believed he was working late. He thought he'd fooled me. But what he didn't know was that his game was about to end. And I was the one holding the final card. I knew I couldn't just confront him. Men like Daniel don't confess. They manipulate. They twist things until you start doubting your own truth. So, I decided to make him confess himself. Step 1. Information. I gathered everything: screenshots, photos, receipts, timestamps. Every lie had a trail and I made sure to follow it. Step 2. Exposure. But not the kind you'd expect. I didn't want to scream his secrets online. I wanted him to ruin himself with his own actions. I created a fake profile. One that looked eerily like Clara's. I used subtle language, inside jokes he'd only shared with her. And then I messaged him. "Hey, miss you already. Same place tomorrow." Within minutes he replied. "Can't wait. You're the best thing that's happened to me." Perfect. The next day, I told him I'd be working late. He didn't question it. He left the house, wearing that same smug smile. But when he arrived at the restaurant, Clara wasn't there. I was. I sat at the table, calm and silent, as he walked in and froze. He stammered, "What are you doing here?" I tilted my head. "Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing." He tried to talk, but I didn't let him. I placed the phone on the table, playing back every message, every lie, every secret, and then I stood up, walked away, and left him there, surrounded by the truth he created. The next morning, everything exploded. Clara called me. She'd seen the messages too. The same ones he'd sent to both of us. Her voice was shaking. "I had no idea," she said. "He told me you two were over months ago." I told her the truth. And surprisingly, she didn't hang up. Instead, we decided to do something together. Something he'd never expect. We met his boss for coffee. Clara worked at the same company. And guess what? Office relationships were against policy. We didn't say a word that wasn't true. We just showed proof. By the end of that week, Daniel was suspended, his perfect image shattered. His friends stopped calling. His phone stopped buzzing. He tried reaching out to me. Calls, messages, even showing up at my door, but I didn't open it. He once told me, "No one walks away from me." Well, I did. And as he stood outside begging for a second chance, all I felt was peace. After Daniel was gone, I had to face the silence he left behind. It was strange at first. The quiet mornings, the empty side of the bed. But slowly, that silence turned into peace. I started running again. I took trips, met new people, learned to love my own company. Maya once asked, "Don't you wish you could undo it all?" I smiled. No. Because if I hadn't gone through it, I'd still be the woman who trusted the wrong man instead of herself. A few months later, I saw Daniel by chance, sitting alone at a cafe, staring at his phone. He looked smaller, defeated. Our eyes met for a second, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity either. I just felt free. I walked away without a word. Because he didn't deserve one. Betrayal changes you in ways you never expect. It shatters your illusions, burns through your trust, and forces you to rebuild yourself from pieces you didn't know you still had. But when the storm finally clears, what's left isn't weakness. It's strength. I used to think closure came from hearing, "I'm sorry," from making them understand the pain they caused. But I was wrong. Closure comes when you accept that you may never get the apology, and you move forward anyway. Revenge doesn't always have to be loud, messy, or cruel. Sometimes, it's quiet. Sometimes, it's choosing peace over chaos. Walking away instead of fighting to be heard by someone who was never listening. Daniel thought he could manipulate me forever, that I'd always stay, always forgive. But in the end, his own lies trapped him, not me. And I learned something powerful: silence speaks louder than confrontation. Walking away is not weakness. It's power. Because the greatest revenge isn't showing them what they lost. It's living like they never had the power to hurt you at all.